Welcome to the Fasthosts ProActive podcast, Spill the IT. Each episode, we'll sit down with some of the amazing ProActive team and chat through their experiences of the ups and downs of IT infrastructure management in small businesses. There's always plenty to chat about.
Hi, and welcome to the latest Fasthosts podcast, where I am here with Simon, the Chief Exec of Fasthosts. And today we're going to be talking about what Tier 4 means, Tier 4 certification from the Uptime Institute, and why it matters. So Simon, do you want to take a moment to just introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. Thanks, Charlotte. So I'm Simon Yeoman. I am the CEO of Fasthosts. I've been with Fasthosts for 15 years and look after both the sort of core Fasthosts business and our proactive business, which I'm really pleased to do so and really pleased to be here.
Excellent. So the Uptime Institute developed these 4 tiers of certification about 25 years ago. So they've been around for a while. For those of people who aren't as familiar with those, do you want to just talk through?
Yeah, of course. As you rightly point out, the Uptime Institute are sort of independent, globally recognised standard for data centres. And as you can imagine, people that want to use data centres, it's critically important for them to provide services that they have some confidence in the services and they understand exactly who they're dealing with and the standard of service that they're dealing with. And in a sort of increasingly complex data centre and cloud hosting world, it's reassuring for people to have some standards to understand the levels and quality of service that they're getting. Mm-hmm. And as you point out, the Uptime Institute have been going for in excess of 20 years. It's a global standard, and they have a tiering system, and the tiering system is based on sort of what they understand would be sort of criteria and requirements for most operations. Mm-hmm. And that's used to establish 4 different tiers, and the first tier is sort of very basic, and if you it's sort of data center services, but if an operation needed to do some repairs or maintenance, that would inevitably result in a sort of loss of service because it hasn't got enough redundancy. Mm-hmm. And there's 4 tiers, like I said, and Tier 2 is slightly more redundant, and in Tier 3 you have sort of lots of redundancy of individual components, and Tier 3 would allow you to run some maintenance as long as it was planned, and that could be done on a fully redundant basis. So if you knew you had planned maintenance to do, you could still continue your operations to your customers or your stakeholders by planning that maintenance in advance and putting the right levels of redundancy in place. Tier 4 is sort of fully fault tolerant, so operations are able to continue, whether it be planned repair work or planned maintenance, or whether it be emergencies, etc. And so Tier 4 is fully fault tolerance from everything to do with the data center infrastructure when it comes to the cooling, the connectivity, and the power in particular. Mm. So that it's really important that there's regular connectivity. And that's often to achieve Tier 4, you'd need that sort of diverse connectivity, diverse network connectivity, but also power. Sort of power needs to be uninterrupted and fully fault tolerant, and that's what you require to get to Tier 4 standard. Mm-hmm. Our new data center, which we've invested a lot of time in, is Tier 4 certified. Not only the actual facility certified, but the actual design that we've specified has been signed off and approved by the Uptime Institute as Tier 4 standard. And I think
it's the only data centre, isn't it, in the UK that has.
That's right. Last time I checked the Uptime Institute website, and anybody can do this. It's an independent, globally recognised standard, and I think our data centre in the sort of Midlands, in the Worcester area, is the only one that's both certified for design and the facility as well.
Great, that's interesting. And I was obviously in preparation for this podcast, I was looking into Tier 4 in more detail and sort of what that means. And one of the interesting factoids I found was what it means on average is data centres that have a Tier 4 certification on average only have 26 minutes of downtime in a year, which I thought was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and like we said, it's a fairly unique type of standard, and we could get into some of the uniqueness of our design, but it's for us, it's a sort of data center standard which is normally preserved for sort of government institutes, enterprise-based companies, and therefore, we're very proud of that design, and we're very excited to be able to bring it to our customers. I think I haven't checked, but there are many data centers globally. I think it's probably almost 3,000 that are sort of certified by the Uptime Institute over sort of 100 countries, and very few get to the Tier 4 standard. And as we just covered, we're one of the very few, or the only one at the moment, last time I checked, in Tier 4 design and facility in the UK.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because as you said, it is the highest standard often reserved for governments, large businesses, and for Fasthosts, you work a lot with small to medium-sized companies, and it's great that they have access to this type of quality and standard. And one of the things we were talking about on the previous episode with George was that how packages are easier, because one of the criticisms with hyperscalers is it's quite difficult for smaller businesses to understand the different products and services.
Yep.
And George was saying that the way that you were able to set up this facility helped you do that more for small to medium-sized companies.
It's very modern, it's very state-of-the-art, and we're very proud of our design. At the moment we're concentrating this conversation, this podcast on Tier 4, but it's very unique in the way that it sort of manages its sort of environmental and sustainable impacts, its security impacts, and as per Tier 4 status, the sort of availability of the data center. Mm-hmm. And there's some uniqueness to its design. Its efficiency allows us to provide our data center services to our customers at a more reasonable price point, and so we are bringing sort of enterprise grade data center services to small and medium sized businesses in the UK, and that's a very unique offering.
Yeah, brilliant. So talk a little bit more about the fault tolerance and the redundancy around all components involved in the data center. So
when we look at the sort of fault tolerance, we look at different areas, in particular the sort of networking and network connectivity, and have we got sort of fully geo-redundant, and are all those networking components fully redundant as well? We will then look at other areas such as cooling and power distribution, and each of those different components need to be fully fault tolerant and have a sort of backup which is immediately available. And we've been able to establish that, and we're also confident that we can sustain that. One of the uniqueness about our design is it's not one great big data center hall. We've created different rooms, different modules within one data center, and that allows us to as we grow into each module, we can take advantage of the latest technologies and the latest design principles and stay ahead of the curve, as opposed to some big data center halls which might be the size of a sort of football pitch. Once you set your design on day one, you're sort of stuck with it whilst you fill that data center. But because we've taken a more modular based approach, we're very confident we can maintain this level of standard and stay right up to date with the latest design functionality, hardware, capability, etc.
Yeah, because I suspect the modular approach helps you test new innovations and developments in a small area before you then roll it out.
It helps us test, but also, many big data centers want you have to often stick to your design on day one, and that you set your design principles where we can slightly update our principles as we grow our business, and we've already sort of fully populated or almost fully populated 2 of our modules, and we're looking to expand into modules 3 and module 4, and we'll make sure we'll be able to embrace the latest technologies and latest hardware when we do so.
Nice. I would imagine software managed network infrastructure has given you a lot of advantages.
It does. It gives us an awful lot of advantages. It's easier to test and update. It's also better, from an environmental perspective. Lots of hardware based solutions, they require energy to be managed, but they also, they have a sort of carbon footprint in their production. So, and which is something that we'll probably cover in a different podcast, but it's something that's very important to us. And the speed and agility of development in software-based networking is something that we already take advantage of, and will continue to do so.
Yeah, good. The infrastructure that you have, how is that creating sort of better security, improved business resiliency?
So the data center that we're sat in now is a sort of modern state of the art, and it's sort of hyper secure. You know, you probably have one or two issues trying to get access to the building
Yes.
today because you know of the levels of security that we implement, and you know, and you can see from the way that we manage the perimeter and we manage access that we are very sort of security conscious. But that's more physical security. We also put a lot of emphasis on the software side and the way that we manage our platforms, and we are part of a sort of group where we have dedicated security representatives, and cyber security is something that we need to maintain and stay on top of in order to make sure that we on behalf of our customers don't get subjected to bad actors out there on the internet.
Yeah. And I would imagine that sort of lends itself to maybe commercial sectors where uptime is incredibly critical to their business.
Yes, and as we've covered off, you know, Tier 4 allows you to provide a high amount of uptime, a very high amount of uptime, and we are able to sort of lend ourselves to companies where that's particularly important for. And you know, there's many providers that are very reliant on sort of high uptime. It might be an e-commerce site, a website that you want constantly available, or you could be monitoring or providing services on a regular basis where our customers, our clients' end customers need constant access to services, and therefore uptime is of optimum importance to them.
And I would imagine as well, and I've seen some things again while I was sort of researching for this episode around that Tier 4 certification is really reassuring for companies who are perhaps either moving from an on-premise to a cloud-first strategy, or perhaps they've gone down a hybrid model and perhaps they're trying to decide, okay, should a cloud-first strategy suit my business? I would imagine that certification provides a lot of reassurance.
Yeah, for many businesses where this is moving to cloud is new, and there's some issue around reluctance or risk, and it provides comfort. Sort of Tier 4 is an independent certification that should provide our customers with confidence that this is a sort of risk-adverse way of going. The full fault tolerance allows people to utilise our services with confidence going forward about that their services and the value that they're trying to provide to their customers is secure and fully available.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you. I think that's given us a really good journey through the Tier 4 certification, because there's a lot involved, and I think the fact that you have one for both design and construction will be incredibly reassuring to Fasthosts customers. So thank you, Simon.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you being here today.
Enjoyed it.
Yep, excellent. And next time we meet, we're going to be talking about the sustainability side.
Look forward to it.
Should be interesting. Thanks, Simon.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. You can subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcast, or visit proactive.fasthosts.co.uk for more info. See you next time.